Canvas is fabric, that's true, and you can work with fabric when you're using a canvas and painting on it, but it's usually the brush that's touching it. It's not my hands. My hands aren't touching it and feeling it and moving it around and manipulating it. And there's something about my hands on the object that feels right for me when I work. And it started to be about healing when I was doing a lot of my paintings and stuff. Probably because of my own physical stuff that was going on with me, but also because I think that we are here on the planet not only to interact with one another, but I don't think anybody's in our life by accident. So whoever is in your life is there for a reason, and I think that really we are here actually to heal each other however you can. If it's a smile, if it's a hug, if it's a pleasant word, whatever, all of that adds up to healing acts. The emotional stuff heals up similarly to the way that the physical body does. In other words, you have an area that is tender, and then it blisters, or it does whatever it does. It gets irritated and it turns red, and then after a while it's tender. It's something you can't really touch, you can't really deal with, and then you have to just kind of let it go through its process, and then eventually it forms its hard shell, its scab. It takes care of itself, it protects itself, and then that falls away, and then you end up with hopefully new, prettier skin. You ever have the opportunity to watch life leave the body, or even to see a person getting weaker over a period of time, you can almost, you've heard people say you can see death on a person. In a way you can, because you can see that the body is not the life form. It's not the thing that animates the person. It's that breath. It's the spirit. It's the spark. That's what makes life. That's what makes you smile. But once the body that's gone, the body is just there. I feel that we are all a microcosm of the macro. So if people, in my opinion, are concentrating on their own individual stuff, not busy pointing the finger out so much at other people, not that other people sometimes need to be told about their stuff, but it's, in my opinion, much more important to focus on your inner stuff, the stuff that's going on with you, because really the only person that you're in charge of and the only person you can control is yourself. So if you working on your stuff, then it will make you, in my opinion, a better person in the world to go through life. We are in a society that requires us to go to work in order to live, and it requires us to have to do so many things. But when you think about it, every creature on the planet that doesn't pay taxes, doesn't pay rent or mortgage, doesn't pay for food because it grows out, or they go and grab the bugs or whatever it is that they eat, or another animal, they're not paying physically for anything. They're not having to create this other form and way of being. But so they do a few things. They eat, they eliminate, and they reproduce. And that's about it. And they work in groups. A lot of the times they work in groups, or they work together however they need to survive. And I mean, you kind of think about it, and I'm like, it just makes so much sense. That's what you do, In our society, that's not the way that we live. So you wonder what gets out of balance because of that. Making love, you are literally, in my opinion, creating this other third energy, and that's why a lot of times people have issues. I've had issues, and because it brings up and it creates this other third thing that starts to happen. It could form into a child or not, but it still creates this other third connection that begins to happen between the male and the female. It's the masculine and then the feminine coming together, and when they come together they create this energy. And that energy is like a pulsating energy, not just the physical sex, but it is like this other thing that creates balance. And that's one of the reasons why I think the Creator made sex such a beautiful thing, is that it is supposed to be beautiful. It is supposed to be a harmonizing and a mentally stabilizing thing. However, when it gets out of balance, then you have things that happen like rape. You have things, and then not only raping of the physical woman, but raping of Mother Nature, raping of resources, raping of other people's needs or whatever. It's just taking, you know, taking because I want. And so that to me is a dick energy, because it takes and it takes, and it's not in the receptiveness of the feminine. The dick is viewed as a powerful thing, and that's why you have the Washington Monument, in my opinion, is actually a dick, because it's surrounded by a ring of flags, and it's no different from the lingam and the yoni, if you're familiar with that in Indian culture. It's a mound, and then it's a ring, and it's symbolic of the masculine and the feminine. It should be a balancing thing. The fact that I feel that there's so much of the male energy in the world, and that it's so concentrated, which is, you know, connected to wars and everything, so that having more of the feminine, which is an appreciation of going introspective, an appreciation of how do you deal with that stuff that's really happening on the inside, so it doesn't cause you to push out to others automatically because you're reacting. I think that most of us in society, I have to check myself on it too, I think most of us in society, we'd rather identify with the dick as opposed to the pussy. We don't want to be soft. We don't want to, and actually our society almost makes us be dicks in a way, because you got to go around being hard all the time, and you gotta, you know, so yeah, so to be a pussy is usually being equated with being soft. We don't want to be vulnerable, you know, and to be open, which is literally what the feminine orifice must do. It must open up to receive, and to open up is just scary for most of us. The piece behind me is called Inevitable Balance. It is about me being an African American in America. I have to say, it's from my perspective. So is that the way that I felt that I'm always viewed by the dominant culture is like on a tangent. It's never like straight on. So that's why the flag is drawn at a diagonal and it's skewed, because it's but it is my reality. It is what I know. I know America. We have this part of our body that can give life, and it's the life-giving blood flow. And whether or not we choose to have children, that is still always this ever-present thing that, you know, is there. And then balancing that heart and brain sort of thing. And I think that in women, obviously, the heart kind of weighs out a little bit more. At least in my world, it weighs out more for me. And I just don't know if it boils down to whoever's in charge, basically, is they are more comfortable if everybody looks like them, talks like them, walks like them, is the most like them. And so obviously here in America, it's the white males. And a black woman is about the furthest you're going to get from being white male. So yeah, that, you know, that might be part of it. It's just that it's something that is so different from the world that they've been used to living in. So I'm logical about it, because if I, probably just basically for survival, because if I get too involved in the emotionality of it, then I kind of, lose it, or either I remain in the angry space, and that doesn't work for me to live. I gotta move on. I gotta do what I gotta do, and I gotta be happy, and I gotta keep my body healthy, and my mind and my spirit healthy, no matter what somebody else is gonna do, no matter how crazy I may think they are. And they think I'm crazy, I'm sure, so it's like people have their things, and that's my thing. But sure, I mean, yeah, it bothers me. It's going to bother me, but I gotta move on. I say what I have to say, and then I'm done with it. Thing that keeps coming up for me, and it's showed up in a lot of my artwork, is four directions, four corners, because it's connected to nature in my head, but it's also connected to the four directions, four corners of the earth. And so, you got east, west, north, and south, and then you also have the fire, the air, the water, and the earth, and those four elements, and how they are vital really to our life. If we don't have earth, we're not living. If we don't have water, we're not living. If we don't have air, we're not living. If we don't have fire, which is the electricity that makes your brain work. Your brain works off of synapse. Every time you have a thought, it's this electrical thing that's happening. And that's why you can walk up to somebody and shock them. But as I've been studying about various African cultures, it also relates to, which is something else I can connect it to, and it connects with me, is that it relates to the cycle of life, which is birth, youth, older age, and then death, and how that cycle just kind of keeps repeating itself, and how that is part of being here again on the planet, and just what you do. When we are in a balanced state and you're in love, whether you're in a relationship or not, but if you're moving out of love, your actions are out of love, then you're in truth. You're balanced. You're free, because you don't have anything holding you back that says that I can't love in this moment, or I can't show a person love in the moment. The cross, being at the crossroads, and then when you're healing at the crossroads, because you're going to have the opportunity to decide which direction you want to go. You have to make some sort of decision about that, and yeah, and I think we're at crossroads a lot. You can be at crossroads daily, where you're just making a decision about, okay, this is what I am going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, and then bam, go with it. And hopefully, if it's a decision that is right for you, or right that feels right to the person, then they get their healing in that moment. You know what I mean? Just in that moment. All life is a bunch of moments anyway. show at Fresno State is a culmination of my research and my graduate studies and the work that I've been producing with the textiles. And it's basically about bringing more feminine energy into the planet and more conscious awareness of it. Healing in general in my artwork is pretty prominent. And probably more prominent is the interconnectedness that I see of human beings on the planet, how we relate to one another, and how we're doing our best to achieve balance, which is what healing is about. You know, if that's why it's called a dis-ease. There's a dis-ease in the body. You're not at ease. So I think that is connected to being out of balance. You know, some part of our body, some part of our spirit, some part of our emotion is out of balance, and so achieving balance or trying to maintain balance, trying to maintain a certain amount of sanity is vital.